David Cronenberg's 1986 film The Fly diverges from its source work Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka in order to create a more cinematic, palatable story, but in doing so, leaving out some of the key allegorical concepts of the original work. In order to better understand what it is that I'm getting at, first, let me explain what an allegory is. An allegory is a story that can be interpreted in more than one way, and this is can be done in Kafka's original *The Metamorphosis* because at face value, it's a story about a man that wakes up and is changed into some insect, some monster of some kind, and the hilarity that ensues. However, there's deeper meaning to that story, and we can find it all throughout. But I want to pick a specific example from earlier in the story when it reads, "Oh God," he thought, Gregor that is, "what an exhausting job I've picked on. Traveling about day in, day out. It's much more irritating work than doing the actual business in the office, and on top of that, there's the trouble of constant traveling, of worrying about train connections, the bed and regular meals, casual acquaintances that are always new and never become intimate friends. This whole piece is riddled with the exhaustion of work and how trapped Gregor is in his own lifestyle. So, yes, on the surface, he is trapped in this new body of some insect, of some beetle. But lying underneath is a story about the physical manifestation of exhaustion of life that we can all have and all experience, and that Gregor's experiencing, but his is being manifested in the form of turning into a creature, and those kind of deeper concepts are helped to express through the fact that we are receiving metamorphosis through Gregor's point of view. Um, Everything goes back to him. Even when other people's names are mentioned, they're only mentioned by their relation to Gregor. Kafka puts us in his eyes, and that is how we experience the story. Unfortunately, directors forever have had difficulty translating those kinds of metaphysical concepts onto the big screen so so that Cronenberg could create a palatable cinematic story. He didn't do that. We watch The Fly through a third person's point of view. We watch it as a story play out, not kind of jumping in where we are the main character. Um, and it again provides for a more cinematic experience, but it takes away from some of the key source material that Kafka was getting at. However, I will say that there are similar shades of futility. For instance, you can find the scene where Gina is talking to Seth, or excuse me, where Seth is talking to Gina and says, "Don't you want to go see what the scientists are doing in there? They're making changes that the world will never be the same." And Gina remarks that those kinds of things are dangerous, kind of pushing boundaries the way that they are. Um, and it proves to be true. And it just shows more of this futility of, of toil, the futility of no matter how hard you work or strive, you're always kind of trapped within some kind of confounds of reality, or just the toil of everyday life. But because of the way that the story was written in Metamorphosis, it would be difficult to translate cinematically the same way that it was written. So, when adapted by David Cronenberg, things were changed. We went to third person point of view. It was more of a story. There was a love interest to kind of keep audiences entertained because they couldn't be in the mind of the anti hero themselves. And those kind of adaptations are just the director's choice. You know, those are some of the sacrifices that you have to make when adapting a piece like this onto the big screen.